Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to the channel, Shelly's Millions. We go live every Sunday at 11 a.m., almost every Sunday at 11 a.m. We talk about finance and budget and just kind of other topics that are important to you guys. If there's anything that you want to talk about, just let me know in the chat and I'll do my best to make sure that we research your topics, even if I don't know the answer. So, speaking of researching topics that I don't know the answer to, my mom, who lives on Social Security alone, is going to be moving in with me by November 1st at the latest. So, we're doing lots of things separately to prepare for that. She's paring down her belongings. I'm paring down my belongings. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do about meals. I'm single. So even like a lot of times if I buy like a personal pizza, I end up eating the whole thing because it's just me and I'm like, well, it's not quite enough to like save. I don't know. But I feel like with my mom here, maybe if I get like a personal frozen pizza, I'll eat half of it. Hi, Shauna's a bad boy. So like maybe we'll each eat like half of the frozen pizza and then cook some vegetables on the side, or a side salad or something like that. Happy Sunday. Yeah, happy Sunday, everyone. Okay, so one of the things that I need to look into in preparation for my mom moving in is how to legally charge her rent. She wants to give me rent. And I think that in some way helps her keep her benefits. I want to be careful what I say. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't want to get in trouble. I want to do everything by the book. But I don't exactly know what that means. So I figured we would look into it together. Debbie always asks me about movies, although I haven't seen her in the comments in a while. So that makes the little green guy sad when we don't see Debbie in the comments. I know she can't always watch with us. So he's going to stay mad today, I think. But I work at a movie theater, and she always asks me what the number one movies are. So this week, I think it's still Inside Out. I haven't actually looked. Sean says that he likes pizza and hamburger and pineapple on his pizza. All right, I do like pineapple on pizza, not always, but I like pineapple and jalapeno. I think it's a good combination, the sweet and the spicy. So not always though. Okay, let me share my screen. As first, we're gonna look up movie grosses, I think, really quickly. Well, first it's gonna pop up on my YouTube page, but we'll switch that pretty quick. So let's look at Box Office Mojo. That's where I normally go to see movie grosses. Is it going? It's definitely not going. Let's try that again. Okay, here we go. Oh, yeah. A Quiet Place Day 1 is actually, looks like it's going to overtake Inside Out 2. So that's interesting. Yeah, and we are playing that at my theater. We've had a big film festival where I work. So that's been what's number one at my theater, like a kind of private film festival. Do we have the weekend grosses yet? A lot of times on Sunday, you do have the weekend gross, but it does not look like that has come out for this weekend just yet. Another deadline, look at Deadline movie grosses. Okay. A Quiet Place Day 1 scares up 53 million, franchise opening record, but Inside Out 2 has last laugh with third number one win at 57 million plus. Interesting. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so this is the Sunday AM final. It wasn't a close call for number one between Disney Pixar's Inside Out and Paramount's A Quiet Place Day 1, with the former beating the latter. $57.4 million to $53 million. A global debut for A Quiet Place Day One was $98.5 million, and Inside Out 2 has passed the $1 billion global mark. All right, so, and then at the location where I work, we're not playing Inside Out 2, but we are playing A Quiet Place Day One. And just in case anybody's interested, I don't normally dive this deep into movies, but let's look at Rotten Tomatoes. And we're going to look at the reviews. I saw Inside Out without you. So A Quiet Place Day One has a score of 84%. Inside Out 2 has a 90%. I am not sure that I didn't like Inside Out 2 as much as I liked the first one, but it was fun. I don't know if I'll see A Quiet Place Day One. If I don't love horror. And at least the first one was kind of like a horror movie. And then I'm unsure about Kinds of Kindness. That's the new Yorgos Lanthimos who did Poor Things. But anyway, so that's the movie update. Hi, Alex. Okay. Oh no, a friend of yours is really struggling because he's 36 and he has to move back home with his folks. He is bummed out. It really sucks. He and his roommates had a permanent fallout with no repair. Let me remove this from the screen for a minute. I actually want to talk about that because I have a friend who's going through a very similar situation. Well, I think it's similar. I don't know. So my friend is in his 30s and he's only lived away from home once, and he wants to date and do his own thing and bring girls back to his apartment and things like that. But he lives with his mom. He's the youngest out of, I don't know how many brothers total, but at least 3. He's got at least 2 other brothers who don't live in the home anymore. And his mom is about the same age as my mom. So, and he loves his mom. His whole family loves his mom. So she really seems to bring the family together. Even at one point, him and his cousins were all going to the beach a lot. And she was like, maybe we should spend the money and put a pool in the backyard so that you kids can even though they're 36, it's so that you kids will hang out here. So he is really struggling in his own mind about moving out and being on his own, which is what he wants. He hasn't really lived on his own that much. And I'm telling him, right? And so maybe this is how your friend can look at it. Is it a way to save money? Is it a way to focus on yourself? My friend, he's going to be there for his mom. It allows him to save a lot of money. His mom cooks for him. Sometimes his mom cooks for me. And we didn't get our tamales this year though, but he's normally the one that brings me tamales during the holidays via his mom. So she's really wonderful. And this is a great opportunity for him. I think that as he gets older, I think that he'll be really glad that he was able to stay there with his mom in the house, but he's not seeing it that way. And a lot of, I love money, right? So, and I shouldn't love money, but I do. It's something that I think about. And living with your parents for as long as it makes sense is one of the ways that you can get financially ahead yourself. So, I mean, I'm not saying use your parents, but it's a different lens to look at it through. Instead of being sad that he's moving back home, could he look at this as an opportunity to not, and maybe he's in a job he doesn't like. Maybe he won't have to hustle as hard if he's living back at home. Maybe that would afford him to take a part-time job or minimum wage job and go back to school, or just really work on himself so that because rent's expensive also. Let's be real. And also, Alex, has your roommate moved in yet? How is that going? How are you, are your finances okay? Because they call it in some videos or whatever, they call it house hacking. And basically lots of cultures do this. you can pack as many people as you can tolerate in your house, and it's going to save you money. Like, that's just the bottom line. So it's interesting because something that I had thought about with my mom before she decided she was going to move in with me is I had thought about maybe renting out this house and moving back with her. I think there's some advantages to that with my mom's age. I think that there would have been some benefits to me living with her and her staying in her own house where she's like more familiar with it. Like, it's interesting because, like, even though she's been here a lot, like, I have these, like, what are they called? Like, they're like little transition pieces between, like, the bedroom and the kitchen and the bedroom and the living room, and they're like little, like, physically, like, little transition pieces on the floor, but mine aren't glued down properly or whatever, and so I'm always worried that my mom's toe is gonna get caught in them and she's gonna trip. Um, I also have less items in my house. So I'm always worried that, like, my living room is pretty open. So if my mom were to tip over, she's going all the way down. Whereas in her trailer, we had a single wide and she had a lot of items. So, like, if she were to tip over, like lose her balance and start to tip over, there's almost always going to be like a nice soft piece of furniture for her to tip over onto. Also, the trailer had carpet. Like, I have like laminate, like fake wood floors. So if my mom falls here, I feel like I worry that it's gonna be worse than if she would have fallen at her own house. So I was thinking about renting this out and then living with my mom, as a way to save money, as a way to, like, be with her and, like, not, uproot her life. But as it is, she's moving in with me, and she wants to pay me money for doing that. Um and so we're looking into how to do that legally. But anyway, just tell your friend that, and I am really I'll tell you what it's called. I feel like it might be a free book on Audible. It's called, I know this is silly, Success Affirmations: 52 Weeks for Living a Passionate and Purposeful Life by Jack Canfield. So I've kind of been listening to this on repeat as I drive to work each day. And it's really like, I'm grateful for the opportunity to live close enough to my family that I can help them. Like, just really trying to look at it through a different lens, and instead of being sad, and he can mourn the relationship with the permanent fallout. Like, a lot of times, like, roommates are friends. Before my friend started renting the garage for work from home, and that's like my best friend from childhood, I rented it to other people who I considered friends, and it did not work out, and now I don't speak to them anymore. I think we just kind of parted ways. Like, I'm not like so mad at them I would never speak to them again, but it just got like awkward. Um so I'm sorry for the loss of his relationship with his roommates, but I do sort of think that everything happens for a reason, and to try and just see it, I'm sure that there's some sort of positive lens that he can spin this with. Um, I also went to a Tony Robbins seminar a while ago, and he said instead of thinking like, I have to move back in with my parents, think I'm so lucky that I had this fallout with my roommates and that I have my parents close enough and they're willing to take me back in. Just really try and look at everything if you can. And again, this is something I struggle with, but try and look through everything that's happening to you with like a lens of gratitude. Okay. Ben says that his friend had to return home too at 32 in order to still bring girls home. He built a small house in the backyard that his own space, his bedroom. I guess he really found a solution. Yeah, and that probably increased the value probably of his parents' house. And I have a coworker actually who's in his 30s that does that also. So but I think it's like a proper guest house, maybe. Alex says, I think he might only do Uber for a while as it pays pretty good where he's at. For a while, he will take it easy. And yep, that's a good idea. He can make his own space. Tell him that. Yeah. Hi, Prince Ali. Living with parents isn't bad as long as you contribute to groceries and clean and stuff. Yeah. Richard, Hi, Joy and Joey. But Richard says living with your parents is better than ending up homeless. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, I'm going to take a sip of coffee. You guys know that means to please like the video. Okay. One of the things my mom and I are considering as she moves in, we've always said that like she wouldn't need to use food stamps, but she's like, if I qualify, why wouldn't I get them? If we cook meals together, she's not going to qualify. If we don't, then we think she would. So we're looking into that because again, we want to do everything by the book. And there are going to be like a lot of times where we don't eat together just because like my work schedule is different than like my mom's working and eating schedule. All right. We're going to go back to this and then I'm going to type in renting to family members. How about IRS? That's the first thing. Okay. We'll just go to the irs.gov site. You guys know that I like a .gov site. I feel like that is, it's going to be reliable information. Okay. No, but this doesn't seem, okay. I am renting a house to my son and daughter-in-law. Can I claim rental expenses? In general, if you receive income from the rental of a dwelling unit, such as a house, apartment, or duplex, you can deduct certain expenses. Besides knowing which expenses may be deductible, it's important to understand potential limitations on the amounts of rental expenses that you can deduct in a year. There are several types of limitations that may apply. If you don't rent your property to make a profit, you can deduct your rental expenses only up to the amount of your rental income. And you can't carry forward rental expenses in excess of rental income to the next year. However, deductions that are allowed, regardless of whether an activity is for profit, example, certain real property taxes and mortgage interest are not subject to this limitation. Okay. Rental of dwelling unit for profit, the tax treatment of rental income and expenses for a dwelling unit that you also use for personal purposes depends on how many days you use the unit for personal purposes. Renting to relatives may be considered personal use even if they're paying you rent, unless the family member uses the dwelling unit as his or her main home and pays rent equivalent to the fair rental value. Okay, so that's a statement that like I might want to get like a tax professional to help me with this rather than trying to just, I'm usually pretty good about figuring it out all on my own. But I will say a couple things on this. I'm not a tax professional. And part of it is just time and wanting to make sure that like I don't miss something or misunderstand something. So basically, I think as long as I rent to my mom, I'm going to need to report that to the IRS. And in addition to reporting it, this seems to say that if I rent to a relative, it may still be considered just my personal use, even if my mom's renting from me, unless the family member is claiming the dwelling unit is his or her main home, which my mom would. Like my mom is giving up her home and she's going to be living full time with me, and this will be her main home. This is the part I'm not sure about. And pays rent equivalent to the fair rental value. That's the part I'm not sure about. If I were to rent out this house, I think I don't know. I don't know what the fair rental value is, and I'm not sure how I would determine that. My mom has basically said, I was like, how about you give me $300? $300 would not be fair market rent for sure. In Los Angeles, absolutely not. But that seemed like a fair price to charge her to me. because she might be losing some of her benefits, uh, like food stamps, possibly. But then that wouldn't be fair market rent. So then my mom was like, "Why don't I pay you 600?" And that probably is closer to fair market rent, but I don't know for sure, and I'm not sure how to determine that for tax purposes. And then it's kind of looking like I'm not trying to profit off my mom. It would certainly like lower the amount of my expenses, but I'm not trying to like even with what my friend pays me for work from home and what my mom would pay me for rent, no matter what that amount ends up being, like I'm still going to have mortgage cost. Um, but I'm not sure now if I report it to the IRS, if I would be able to deduct some expenses. Like, for example, I pay a gardener, I pay pest control. I'm not sure if I rented that, if then I could deduct some of those costs. And then I have something, my dryer that I've had it just over a year. It's not heating right now. So like, can I write off? So I'm going to have to, if I charge my mom rent, I will have to pay, no, I will have to report that income to the IRS. But it's looking like that if I have some repairs and maintenance, that I can deduct those off of the cost. Maybe 50-50, like the repair of the dryer. I don't know. Okay, passive activity losses. In general, you can deduct passive activity losses to the extent of passive activity income, a limit on loss deductions. You carry any excess loss forward to the following year or years until used, or you carry an excess loss forward until the year you dispose of your entire interest in the activity. At-risk rules. The at-risk rules limit your losses from the most activities to your amount at risk in the activity. Okay, is my residential rental income taxable? And or are my expenses deductible? Let's look at that one. This interview will help you determine if your residential rental income is taxable and or if your basic expenses associated with the rental property are deductible. But see, this isn't a rental property. This is also my primary residence. Okay, so maybe that's what I need to Google. Can I charge my parents rent? Can I charge my elderly parents rent? Can I charge my parents rent? What do I want the rest of that to say? In my primary residence. Rent to a family member with no limitations. There are no restrictions when renting to family members who use the residence as their primary home for the year. They cannot use it as a vacation house or second home. They must also pay a fair rental rate and not a discount. What's a fair rental rate? Because also my house is really small. So even when like I've let people live here before, um I've charged them not as much. There's one bathroom. It's small. So what's fair rent? Like who determines that? Okay, Joel says some cultures, lots of the time, kids live at home until they're married, like the Hispanic culture, like yours. In fact, it's kind of expected. Yeah, and my friend is Hispanic. He's Honduran, and he's the youngest, and so he still lives at home, but he doesn't really want to. He wants his own place, and I'm like, just stay there. Just stay there. Like he's got a good thing. It's not like they don't get. He gets along with his mom. His mom's really nice. She cooks great. Like he likes to take her to dinner. Like the whole family. Like she's really like the center of the whole family. The whole family loves her. And I think like that his brothers feel better that he's there. Like I don't know, and it makes me think he's a good person for staying there. I mean, I wouldn't think he's a bad person if he moved out, but Like, I think he should just kind of accept that he's gonna be there for the next little while. And I think that ultimately he'll be glad because his mom is about the same age as my mom. So I don't know. Like, I'm glad my mom's moving in with me. Like, I don't want her to live alone. Okay. Ba, 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 ba. Let's keep reading this article. Okay. All right. Look, this seems good. You guys know when I take a sip of coffee to please like the video. Okay, rent to a family member, tax rules you should know. When you decide, okay, I'm gonna read this whole article, guys. Sorry, because this seems like exactly what I'm looking for. When you decide to rent to a family member, it may seem like a win-win situation for you and your loved one. You believe your property will be well maintained by this person you trust. In return, you could help them by reducing their rent. I don't know about well maintained though, because I'm going to still live here also. However, you as a taxpayer may be unaware that renting to a family member has different tax implications than renting to others. If you're not careful, you might fall into a trap that might reinstate your rented property as personal residence. Well, it is my personal residence, so I think that's going to be okay. If this happens to you, the IRS could deny rental expense deductions worth thousands of dollars. I don't necessarily care about that. Like, I'm not trying to rent this to my mom so that I can like deduct half of the dryer repair or the plumbing or like whatever. But I think if she was like a stranger, I definitely could. Okay, anyway, let's keep reading. If your tenant is a relative of yours, special rules and limitations may apply. We will explain some of the tax rules you need to know if you are or considering renting to family. What defines a related tenant? Well, for sure, my mom. But anyway, your spouse, parent, or grandparent, child, or grandchild, and your siblings are all considered your relatives according to the IRS. Rent to a family member with no limitations. There are no restrictions when renting to family members who use the residence as their primary home for the year. They cannot use it as a vacation house or a second home. They must also pay a fair rental rate and not a discount. All your typical rental expenses are deductible, even if they result in a revenue shortfall for the year. However, if you suffer a loss, it's considered a passive loss and can subject you to a different set of restrictions. Limitations for renting to family members. For tax reasons, you cannot make the determination on your own that your property is a rental property. Rental homes must be rented out during the tax year according to 26 U.S. Code 280A. Also, it cannot have the owner using the property for Also, it cannot have the owner using the property for personal reasons for 14 days or more. But I am the owner and I am going to be using the property for personal reasons. Neither can the owner use the property for 10% of the number of days the property was rented at a fair market value during the tax year, whichever is less. If the property qualifies as a rental property, you may be able to deduct certain expenses. The following are deductible expenses that may have inclusion: interest on your mortgage, property taxes, landscape maintenance, utilities, HOA dues, property maintenance, and depreciation. You can lose money if you lose your rental status. It's possible for a property classified as a rental property to lose money if the overall expenses exceeds the rental income, except for the mortgage interest and your real estate taxes. All other deductible expenses will vanish if the property loses its position as a rental property. The IRS considers a home to be a personal residence if the taxpayer owns it but leases it for less than 17 days throughout the year. This rental income does not need reporting on. Let's read this again. The IRS considers a home to be a personal residence if the taxpayer owns it but leases it for less than 14 days. Oh no. The property owner can deduct real estate taxes and mortgage interest as itemized deductions, but you won't be able to deduct all the other rental costs that you would be able to deduct if the property has a classification as a rental property. Always rent at fair market value. When renting to family, you must rent your property at fair market value unless you want to risk losing a significant portion of your rental expense deductions. But again, I don't care about rental expense deductions. If you rent for less than fair market value, every day the family member leases the property counts as a day when you, the taxpayer, personally used it. But I am going to be using it every day. Wow. Okay. If you appear to have used the home for more than 14 days, which I will be, the IRS will no longer view it as a rental property. If you rent at a lower rate than the fair market rate to a relative for more than that, the home in question will be removed from the rental property category. That will cause you to lose all your deductible expenses except your real estate taxes and mortgage interest. Prepare to prove the rent is at fair market value. You will want to have reliable documentation proving that the rent is reasonable. You can scan or print out information on comparable listings with similar rentals. Make sure to get letters from other property managers stating that the lease amount is fair. Also, obtain an independent appraisal of your property. The relative should use the property as their primary resident. If you want your property designated as a rental property for income tax purposes and you choose to rent it to family member for the year, the relative must live there full time. Otherwise, every day the relative occupies the residence will be deemed personal usage day for the owner, just like renting at a lower than fair price. So if the relative lives in the home for only 3 months of the year and has their primary residence elsewhere, the property will get declassified as a rental property. Be wary of using a good tenant discount. Using what is known as a good tenant discount, you may provide your relative with a modest price break. Although 20% was an acceptable rate in the past, this amount is not a certainty. However, 10% discount is safer bet to use and easier to justify. No subsidizing the rent through gifts. Do not find yourself giving family members money presents to assist them in paying the rent after setting a reasonable market value for the rent. The IRS may subtract the amount of gifts from the fair market rent price, causing your rental home to revert to a personal residence. Potential tax loss. When renting out an apartment or home, you are usually allowed a depreciation deduction for the cost of the home, except for the amount allocated for the land, even if the income from your rental exceeds your operational cost. This could lead to a tax loss for you. Think before you act. If you are thinking about renting to a family member, do not go outside the set requirements you have for any other prospective tenant. Also, offering a fair market rate is critical. If not adhered to, it will cost you in the long run. Do you want to rent to a family member but feel stuck in the middle of the process? We can help. We have successfully managed over all these properties. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let's see what you guys have to say in the comments. All right. Let's scroll back up on this article. That was helpful. Okay. That was helpful. But see, like, I'm not renting a rental property to my mom. I just want to charge my mom rent for legally living with me. So weird. Okay. Joel, sometime before November, well, by November 1st is where we're looking at. And it's interesting, like I think my mom's ready to come like whenever. She went ahead and already sold her trailer. She sort of does have a lot of things, but there's not a lot of space here. The person that bought her trailer already lived in the trailer park, and he very gratefully offered to like basically told her that she could leave whatever she wanted in the trailer and he will take care of it. My mom says, you're making this way too complicated. I rent a room, you collect money, you report it. I'm not sure you like, I don't know though. That's what I'm trying to like, how do you report it? Like on my taxes, when I file my taxes, it doesn't just say like, it doesn't say like, did any of your family members, like rent a room from you. It doesn't ask that. So I don't know. So Richard, it looks like, according to this one article that I read, you would determine if it was it looks like it says Prepare to prove the rent is at fair market value. You need to have reliable documentation proving that the rent is reasonable. You can scan or print out information on comparable listings with similar rentals. So, like, I guess I could go to like Craigslist and see like room for rent or furnished room for rent or something like that. And then make sure to get letters from other property managers stating that the lease amount is fair. So, like, I could go if I knew another landlord, I could go there and ask them that. Also, attain an independent appraisal on your property. But again, oh, Debbie, the little green guy was sad because I haven't seen you in a long time. So he's definitely happy to see you in one of the lives. Okay, so here's the thing, Debbie. And so I'm glad you popped in. Let's see. So I know that I sort of said that my mom, Debbie's saying, oh, Shelly, it's your mom. Don't report anything. Her money contributes to the household. Just move her in. So the thing is, my mom gets Social Security. I thought it was Social Security disability, but I think once you hit a certain age, it switches over to just regular Social Security. So my mom gets that, but my mom also gets VA pension. She gets that in combination with her Social Security. So she wants me to report the rent that she gives me. And I don't care like what she pays, quite honestly. But she wants me to report rent because I guess in order to get the VA pension money, she needs to show that she's still paying rent. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that and make it happen. Like, I don't want to get myself in trouble. I don't want to get my mom in trouble. Only the food stamps would be involved. But she's not sure about the VA pension. She thinks that she would totally lose that if she doesn't report that she's paying rent. And I would be charging her rent. So if some rent, probably not fair market value though. So, and she wants to continue getting that extra money. So Debbie's saying only the food stamps would be involved. And there's some, phone them and ask. Yeah, the thing is, dang it, the VA, they'll really cut you for almost anything. So we just want to be careful with that. Then Debbie's saying only food stamps would be involved. And there's even some possibility that she could keep food stamps. I think she's saying that if we don't cook together, which we probably, it's funny because earlier I was like, maybe I'll get a pizza and we'll split it in half and like we'll serve it with vegetables. But the truth of the matter is, because of my work schedule, like today, I work from 4 to close, which will be about midnight, about an 8-hour shift, and I'll leave at 3:30. I'm not going to be home for dinner, so we're not cooking dinner together. She's not here yet, but like we won't be cooking dinner together. Uh-oh. My mom wants me to, only illegals have no issue with the government. Oh, my mom wants me to do everything legally, but I don't know. Like, I also don't know if, in terms of the VA, right? Because I think my mom has maybe been a little too honest in her life, right? That's what well, it's not, I wasn't thinking anything about it. I was thinking, move my mom in, my mom pays me money. That's the end of the day. But my mom was like, well, if I move in, my mom's the one that's like, you're going to have to report this to the IRS in order for her to keep getting her benefits. So I wasn't thinking anything about that. And my mom's now telling me if I don't report it to the IRS that she's going to lose money. So that's where we're at with this. I'm wondering if my mom writes me a check every month, like, wouldn't that prove that she's paying me rent? Like, or like, can I just type up a document on a piece of paper that says she's paying me rent? I don't think that like the VA is so involved that they're going to be like seeing what I reported as income on my taxes, like maybe her taxes, but she's so old and like doesn't make any additional income that she's not even required to like file taxes anymore. So I don't know. And Debbie, I just thought also, I might be overthinking it, but I thought that this might be something that like you guys as viewers might be curious. And so, yeah, just make a photocopy of the check and like turn that in. I suppose also, now see, here's where it gets shady, right? And I don't want to do anything shady, but I do legally have a business of Shelly's Millions. So my mom, get a second opinion from Jenny Silver. Yeah. And Jenny, now this would be interesting because Jenny Silver, okay, she's for anybody, I think all of you know, but just in case you don't, Jenny Silver, she is the one that also talked about unemployment benefits during the pandemic. So we both have channels, but Jenny Silver also knows a lot about the tax system, even though neither one of us are tax professionals. Jenny Silver bought a house with her. She bought 3 houses on like on some acres of land, is my understanding. So the house that she bought, one of the houses her dad lives in, one of the houses her husband, and her children live in, and then the last house her sister and whoever constitute her on her, yeah, I don't know, on her family. Jenny Silver lives in one, her dad lives in another, and her sister lives in another one. So I don't know how they're reporting that and what they're doing in terms of taxes, but that might be somewhat similar. Okay. Debbie says, phone them and ask. They're a pain in the butt. Debbie says, I'm overthinking this. Richard says, just make a photocopy of the check. Debbie's saying, get a second opinion from Jenny Silver. Okay, then my mom is saying that the VA she get is needs-based, like welfare, no rent, and then no need for money. But like, what do you send them now? I guess is maybe more the question. Like, I am going to be charging my mom rent, but what do we need to do to prove that? Can you just show them like the checks that you send me and the bank statements? And then I guess my mom is worried that if can I just write a letter that says you're paying me $600 a month of rent and then you show the checks and you could show that they were cashed from your bank account? Like, what do you send them now? Because this is also something that I was wondering is, yeah, mom, what do you submit now? Because even if I'm like reporting the income to the IRS and like we do everything legally, which we want to, right? Like we're not trying to like, right. So then if all you're sending them is like your check stubs, then just do that. And I can like write a letter, but like, I don't know how to like, I'm not a landlord, so I don't know how to like submit like a rental receipt. Like I have, hold on guys, just hold on one second. It's both my passports and my old ID. Don't look at all that. My birth certificate, is it in here? I feel like it is. Where is it? Oh, look, got these cute little stamps. Okay. I have a receipt book, a guest checkbook that mom I probably got from you for like when people bought stuff from the swap meet, or like my mom had her. So Richard asked the IRS. The thing is, it's not clear. Like that's why I'm trying to Google it, and that's why we were on like an IRS thing. But mom, could I just write you one of these and then you turn this in? Like, I don't know what to give you as a rent receipt. So I don't know. And then like part of me also says, like if if you I don't know. I don't know. If my mom lost all the money that she's getting from the VA, like I could supplement that. Would it mean that maybe my mom's only giving me $100 rent? Absolutely. Would that still be okay? And she could still move in with me? Also, absolutely. It is so yeah. See, that's what I was kind of thinking too, but I think it is substantial. So without the VA money, I think my mom was saying that she only gets like $600 or something a month. And then if she were giving me all of that, then she would literally have nothing left for herself. So I wouldn't want to put her in that situation. Um, I would like her to be able to have at least, and we were so originally I was thinking, okay, let's back this up a little bit. Let's actually, okay. Somebody needs to remind me who moved my cheese. Okay, but anyway, well, we're gonna have the Who Moved My Cheese book up here as recommended to me while we do this. So I would have to go back and like rewatch my mom's Social Security video, unless she wants to drop it in the chat to see what her income is. But originally, my mom gets $107 food stamps currently, I think. And my mom pays like with rent and utilities, my mom, she's saying, can she go on SSI? We'll talk about that in a second. Then my mom pays about $600 rent currently. I was thinking that my mom was going to lose this money in food stamps. And I was so like, let's call it $200 instead of 107. I don't know. I originally was thinking to charge her just $300 rent. That would be something for me. And I think that's what I've charged somebody else who, like a stranger who was living here. And honestly, like the strangers, like I've lived with my mom before. I like my mom way more than a stranger. So I was thinking 300. But then my mom was like, no, Shelly, I want to give you at least 600. And I like money and my mom wants to help me. So I was like, okay. But then she was like, you're going to need to report it. And that's how we kind of got to this. Like, I don't really care how much my mom gives me. If she needed to give me less than 600, that would be fine. So Debbie, my mom does get Social Security, but that is based off of, oh, I like the way this green pens look. That's based off of her earnings history. And so that's about $600. And I always thought we're going to have, when my mom moves in, you guys, you're going to love this because we're going to make a lot more videos together and then she'll be here and she can just tell me in person. Okay. So she gets approximately $600 a month from Social Security. And then it's supplemented right now with a VA pension, which my mom says is needs-based, like welfare. No rent, then no need for the money. So like I don't know. Maybe in this scenario, if my mom's just getting 600, and I always thought that if my mom wasn't getting VA pension, that she would actually get a little bit more from Social Security. But my mom was like, no, that's the maximum she's getting from Social Security. And I don't know. I've never had to worry about this before. So, and I'm not worried, like, but I am taking you guys along with me because like one, you guys are good resources and give me good things to check out. And then two, I thought it'd be interesting. If this catches the right person, I know that me looking into it will help someone else. So that's kind of the hope in looking at this. Sometimes I think we're tired of talking about some of the topics that we've talked about before. This is interesting to me, researching it and researching the different options. Like that's the kind of weirdo I am. I like enjoy looking into the possibilities. Okay. Richard gets $23 in food stamps and he's 65. When my mom first started getting food stamps, I want to say they gave her like $8. But you know what? That was a couple of coffee creamers back then. Now it's only one coffee creamer. All right, my mom says, oh dear mom, oh my mom, we'll jump ahead. My mom says, how much is reasonable rent in your area so you can charge me that? I would say that a 2-bedroom apartment, I don't think so my mom didn't work a traditional job with a paycheck. Like, what is the lowest SSI can pay? I want to say that that's probably where we're at. So mom, probably a 2-bedroom in my area probably cost about $2,400, and divide that by 2 people would equal $1,200. I'm not charging you $1,200 rent, because even though that's what market rent would be, that's insane, by the way. If you guys have been watching the channel, $1,200 is more than my entire mortgage. So what if, and then, okay, $1,200 would be more than my entire mortgage. Let's just do what the housing expenses are. It's not moving my cheese. Here's my housing cost. So maybe half of that would be reasonable. My whole mortgage, it's going up. And I don't know how this would work once the house is paid off, right? But it is what it is. Right now, whatever. My proper, no. There's all that stupid stuff going on with like the homeowners insurance. So with the increase in homeowners insurance, my entire mortgage is $1,200. Then I'm gonna let's call it $200 a month electricity. $30 a month in gas, like gas for the stove. I pay $70 a month for a gardener. And I pay $65, but let's just round that up to also $70 for pest control. And then we can also, let's say, let's even go with $100 a month for like maintenance and upkeep. So that's like if I need a plumber, that's if I need to, like, if the lights go out, or if I need to put batteries in the smoke detector, or if I need to replace the smoke detector, or if a window's leaky or something like that. Okay. So this would be the total monthly expenses would be 14, 15, 16, 17, that's 5, 6. So $1,670 would be the total monthly expenses. And I would say this is on the high end also. I have a lot of months where my electricity is not that high. I think like some months I actually have like, I get a credit on the gas. Gardener's always 70, but pest control is actually 65. And then some months you don't have any maintenance. So whatever, 1,670 divided by 2 would equal 5, 6, 7, 8, $835. So maybe 835 would be closer to fair market rent with utilities. And maybe, Mom, if we wanted, I think you said you wanted to do utilities separate. So if my mortgage is $1,200 and that includes insurance, but that divided that by 2, since we'd both be living here, that would equal the $600. So that seems like fair. $600 definitely seems like fair rent to me to pay for you. I don't know, guys. What do you think? Okay. The other thing is, like, Mom, could you write me a check and I literally write you something on this? And then something else, although this isn't part of my business. My business is Shelly's Millions, but I do have a business, so it which is also registered to just my legal name. I don't know. Because, like, I can't cash a check to Shelly's Millions, but that would still be to me. Anyway, so Guys, if this is interesting to you, this is probably what we're going to research up until my mom moves in. Because I want to do the right thing. And also, I do know if I asked Jenny Silver this question, I think I know what she would say. If I said, "Hey, Jenny Silver, should I report the income I'm getting from my mom towards my mortgage? Should I report that to the IRS?" I believe that she would say yes. And then that would help me when I'm older as earned income. Although, yeah, I think a landlord counts as earned income. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. But we're looking into it. Okay. Debbie says the homeless US citizens get full SSI as they have no work income usually. Yeah, I think my mom is saying SSI is also needs based. Your VA sort of replaces that. We can go into the benefits in depth when we go to the doctor and ask questions. Further research. Yes, yes, yes. I rent a room. You can't charge me anything unreasonable like your total electric bill. I'm not going to charge you the total electric bill, but half. If you're using half, you get charged half. So I'm thinking $835, which would be lower than like if I put this house on the market. If we would have done this the other way and I would have moved in with you, Mom, I would have rented the entire house for $2,400. And then half of 2,400, and that would be without utilities for whoever that person was. Half of 2,400 would be 1,200. But that seems crazy to me when my mortgage, including property insurance, is only 1,200. Richard, my mom and I live in California. California is where we live. So yeah, and Mom, I'm not saying like I'm going to charge you $1,670. I'm not going to charge you the entire electric bill. And so my electric bill is also my electric, sanitation, and water. It's all rolled into one bill, LADWP, Department of Water and Power. So and I'm billed every other month. So some months, like in the summer or the winter, basically if I'm running the air conditioner or the heater, it's about $400 every other month for both. And if it's like in March, I didn't really use the heater or the air conditioner. It was kind of like right in between. It was perfect. Sometimes those months are lower and it's about $300 every other month. Which makes it lower per month. Does that make sense? Okay. So, but the highest it ever is, I would say, is sometimes it can go a little over 200 a month. But so yeah. Richard is asking, would me and my mom ever consider moving to the Midwest? Lower cost of living. You live in Wisconsin. Yes, that is something that we talk about often. All my friends are here though. Like I'm familiar with California. I have family in Georgia, also like Wisconsin and cheese. I would love to go there. I love cheese. That's what literally that's like what Wisconsin's known for. But if me and my mom ever looked at relocating, I think we would probably go to Georgia. Because we have some like other family there, or possibly Georgia would be a possibility. I would move to Nevada. I would move to Nevada now, Las Vegas. If like the right job opportunity came up, that would be close enough. I guess my mom now would have to go with me. My mom, if anyone didn't catch last week's episode or the week before, because I missed last week, if anybody didn't miss the last time I went live, I would recommend going back there and watching that last live video about like moving a parent in with a child. I think that's what it's called, something like that. That'll go over all that. My mom has already sold the trailer, so now wherever I go, she has to go with me. Laughlin, Nevada. Laughlin is supposed to be cheaper, and I'm not opposed to that. It's just like a lot of the YouTubers I watch, and I feel like a lot of job opportunities and things would be more on like right before you get to Las Vegas proper, which would be like Summerlin. I have some friends there. I feel like I could definitely like find a job and like find community and friends and things like that there. And then my mom likes playing bingo, so she could always go to the casino and play bingo. So that would be good. Um, but yes, not off the table. I think Wisconsin, I think you get some cold weather. I'm not sure how I would do with that. Anyway, you guys, I'm going to head out. I'm working today later. So we put up our little above ground pool. So I'm going to go paddle around in that, I think, before I go to work tonight. And yeah, I'm going to keep looking into what the best solution is for charging my mom rent and trying to do it the right way. And I don't know, which is when I first started talking about unemployment, I didn't know anything about that either, but I researched it and I found a clear path. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching Shelly's Millions. I will see you next week. We go live every Sunday at 11 a.m. to talk about budget, finance, bringing your parents to live with you, and all that fun stuff. All right, have a great rest of your weekend, everybody, and I'll see you next week. Oh, my birthday's coming next week on Saturday, so the live will be the day after my birthday. All right, so I hope to see you next week. That'll be my birthday.